봐서 좀 들리는 전에다 방송도 공부고요. 근데 이게 이게 아까 오늘만 개발한 게 이게 돈이 있는데 진짜 끝나고 이러고 된데 이거 몸을 절대로 야구도 나가지 인지를 좀 마음보다 더 마찬가지로 우리 공상력이나 빼야 한다고.
So this evening, you Dharma companions who have gathered here have requested some instruction on the practices of calm abiding and special insight meditation. And so I will give an introduction to these practices. Now, principally, these practices are in accord with the Sutra tradition, and then specifically in the context of the meditation practices of the Kagyu tradition. We engage the practice of Mahamudra. In the Nyingma lineages, we engage the practices of Dzogchen. And then in the context of philosophical study and their traditions, there are the teachings on Madhyamaka. And whether we are speaking of Mahamudra or Dzogchen or Madhyamaka, the condensed essence of all of these can be found in the teachings on calm abiding and shamatha and special insight in meditation. Now, with regard to calm abiding and special insight, Khenpo Tenle has translated and put together an excellent text which has both Tibetan language and English translation, and gives very clear instructions on the practices of these two. So it is that the wise and the knowledgeable have collected such teachings that are vast and profound. And my hope is that you would study this text, and in the future that Lama Sanji can give detailed instructions on this excellent text. So to you Dharma companions who are senior students and practitioners, of course you must know that I do not have great scholarship. I have not studied many texts at length and in detail. However, I do have a great deal of experience with suffering, and I have some understanding of how to combine this experience of suffering with my practice of the Dharma, how to cause these two to merge. Truly, the Buddha's Dharma is the antidote to suffering. And so since I have had perfect and excellent experience of suffering, so too I have a little bit of experience of how to apply the Dharma teachings when I am experiencing this suffering. And so tonight I will give some instruction based on what I know and what I have experienced of these teachings. So
용마지 첫이 용마다 전에 첫이 내력사고 하고 그래. 동대에서 상행도.
So in general, you senior students and practitioners may have some knowledge of calm abiding and special insight meditation, but for you new students, there may be some question as to what these two are. If we are to understand them, we must know their basic foundation. And in this regard, we should understand that the natural state of the mind is the basis of both calm abiding and special insight. When we look at the mind, we see the many thoughts and emotions in the mind, and they seem so numerous, just like the particles of dust that are floating in the air when a ray of sunlight shines inside a room. Likewise, these numerous thoughts are like the contaminants in a glass of water that is mixed with dirt. Yet, if we engage these practices, we become skillful in separating the mind from the contaminants of thoughts and negative emotions. Just as if we set a glass of water that's mixed with dirt down and we allow that dirt to settle, we see the true essence of the water, an aspect of the water that wasn't seen before. In this way, we should understand calm abiding and special insight meditation. When we cause the mind to abide, it is like setting this glass of water mixed with contaminants down. And as those contaminants settle to the bottom, we see that which we had not seen before, the clear water at the top. This experience of seeing that which was not previously recognized is the essential meaning of special insight meditation.
우리는 세우기 대로도 또나 용기 강요하리 대박하리 이거로서 못하나 세번 내려오는 상장을 상기에 덮으려 상기는 양치 망고시 요리 오늘 상기의 기반에 가리리 야 같이 그 상기에도 밑에 톱이 이거다 내감상 정말 상기로 이런 거 이제 다다라는 게 전부 적당히 있다나 학공도 상예는 하래 세우 내려서 용화지지 첫 용화다고 돼 당소나 예는 생기 나가다고 생고라 이 나가다고 잘 보이 대 통나 이 대로 철기와 파셔라서 봤는데 좀 왔다 그래서 제지 좀 왔다 그래서 대리 노티 창소 본전이 봐 노티 창소는 세부 내려오라 하시더라 예셔라라 리그라라 동의 탐체다라 동의 메드 대화치 보고서 생각하다 그래서 대리 상기도 없고요 세부 내로 근데 또 어디다가 또야 이거래
If one realizes the natural state of the mind, what is the fruition of that? What are the qualities that arise from that? Ultimately, one attains the state of Buddhahood through realizing the natural state of the mind. Of course, there are many qualities of the Buddhas that are elaborated in the teachings. And if one investigates one's own mind, one can see whether these qualities are present or absent. The term that we refer to as Buddha in Tibetan is Sangye. The first syllable, Sang, really refers to recognizing the natural state of the mind, which is like this clear water from which the contaminants have settled out. When we see this natural state of the mind, we realize the meaning of the second syllable, Gye, which refers to vastness. That is to say, seeing the mind's natural state, the mind is recognized as being vast, like the sky. This mind is free of birth and death. When it is recognized, one knows birth and death to be an illusion. This is the state of Vajradhara, the primordial Buddha. It is beyond the extremes of birth and death, coming and going. It is the nature of great bliss, completely free of suffering. It is vast and expansive like the sky. So through realizing the natural state of the mind, these vast qualities can be achieved.
예를 들면 사제 좀비인데 까는 가리송 생긴 탐지 생의 요리 생긴 탐지 생의 상징을 줘야지. 얘가 생긴 남의 상징이 내가 따다 나서 상마이와 도와를 소소소소 른 나반나도 동일 나반나도 요구하는 가위 로버를 들어가게 종이장 로버를 주면 정말 대해서 상징 유효성 저기 좋아하는 거죠. 일단 그 대성으로 상징 까치나리 대를 뛰는 인물 속이 생을 아시되 대답을 사진과 시 대는 내가 유목과 동의에 담지 로를 좀 많이 마시고 대사를 타고 현이 로를 좀 많이 나보고 모두 해서는 생각을 아시 토를 내나 그래 네가 치고 먼저 내가 너지 장난이니까 네가 치고 넣어야 되지 이거와 잡고 그래야지.
So in the teachings of the transcendent conqueror Buddha Shakyamuni, it is taught that all sentient beings are the essence of Buddha. However, that essence is temporarily covered by obscuration. So even though at the very basis sentient beings have the cause of Buddhahood, still they wander throughout the 6 realms of existence, taking various physical forms and experiencing diverse sufferings. This wandering throughout the 6 realms shows how that Buddha nature is temporarily covered by obscurations. When those obscurations are purified and removed, one attains the state of Buddhahood and can become like the great master Drikung Rinpoche, even while one is an embodied human being. So it is important that we understand that the natural state of the mind is nothing other than Buddha, and that that natural state is temporarily obscured by thoughts and negative emotions. Thus, we experience suffering. Now, when we engage the practice of calm abiding, those thoughts and negative emotions are pacified. And when this is stabilized, we can attain a state that is beyond transference and change. It is the nature of great bliss. It is the mind of the primordial Buddha, Vajradhara. This should be understood.
어디 또 그거는 얘기送我当然现在难看到我身体真的难看到我就也是那多的真把到我就也是那多真把你怕马上呢真正起来的个人他就真把你说真把的单位起来个高了起来的你妈到这也是那么你妈通过嘛也是那多个政策嘛对呢，经济这个这这么多的意义是，这东西这也不买。
The founder of the Drikung Kagyu lineage, the protector Jigten Sungdun, in his Vajra songs, sang about the practice of the fivefold Mahamudra. And in this particular song, he gave a few examples, stating that at the basis, the mind is like the sky, and that the various thoughts and emotions in the mind are like clouds, and that transcendent awareness is like the sunlight. This sunlight gives rise to the two wisdoms of the Buddhas. And so in this song he sang something like, if the sunlight of the two wisdoms does not clear away the clouds of affliction, one will not recognize the basic nature of mind. Therefore, one should pay attention to this non-conceptual mind, or this mind free of thought.
There's Shri Compo capture Tamu, Tontamu Deva, Qua something, Machana, which is a Combo Namazo, Tontamu Deva, Qua Machana, is a couple. And that's it, I'm so doing anything. The don't see each other back. Don't see each other about the that are now on the same. The important you are the same job, they have also Japan, the Semara, Balasopa, Irapa, the Jane Papa. Zoki same Chotana, the Bashine Committee. Zoki same Chotana, the traditional donor. It is a pin by your so they'll be painful. They will take us in a woman. Go to Captain Nana Young. What had it in young? Color Tamara.
Yeah, so when we engage the practice of calm abiding, it is good if we have some understanding of ultimate truth. Without this, then it is a bit difficult to truly engage the practices of calm abiding. In this regard, in the text, the 37 practices of Bodhisattvas, it is taught that all phenomena, without exception, are a manifestation of the mind. That is to say that all of the appearances of samsara and nirvana are created through the mind, by the mind. Yet these appearances are composite phenomena which are the very nature of impermanence. If instead of looking outward at the phenomena, we turn our attention inward at the mind, which is the creator of phenomena, there is great benefit to be experienced. If we have this understanding of the ultimate view, then it will be easier to stabilize the practice of calm abiding. If, on the other hand, we try to practice calm abiding directly without any understanding of the ultimate view, what we will experience is that when we meditate, the mind will abide. Yet, as soon as we stop meditating, there will be nothing at all. We will become just like an ordinary person in terms of the state of our minds.
There are things in me. Don't know what they matter. There's a quarter chance. Carry you, simply carry you. I don't know what they mean for me. One day, you know, quarter was coming from. Quarter was not in some. 사지 나한테 다 방송 이핑을 하는 거지. 높은 사지 이핑이 여기만 나게 용서. 나 진지를 놓고 이핑을 놓니 개발되는 콘텐츠가 되게요. 그래서 이제 새로 이제 초장만은 최지 봐야 돼. 새로 문제 콘텐츠가 이제 봐야 돼. 이런 인주세다. 나비를 놓니 거와 자. 이핑을 놓니 내가 토리자 다도 사지 사소가 자도 이 가치로 돼.
If we understand the ultimate truth to some small degree, we can see how mind is the creator of the phenomena of both samsara and nirvana. How is it that samsara has arisen? The root of samsara is self-grasping in the mind. The root of the nirvana of the Buddhas, or of the enlightened ones, is the mind wishing to accomplish others' benefit. Thus it is said, the perfect Buddhas arise from the altruistic intention, and self-grasping is the cause of all suffering. So we see that samsara and nirvana have the very same basis, which is mind itself. And from that fundamental basis come either self-grasping or the mind wishing to accomplish others' benefit. From self-grasping manifests samsara, from the altruistic mind manifests nirvana. Likewise, from this altruistic mind, one experiences the temporary benefit of rebirth in the three higher realms of existence, and then the ultimate benefit of Buddhahood.
이 수학의 진발이 되나 다 산지 동지인들이 다리 까는 놈이 조가지 진성국에 진발이 진발이 니마다 버려 니마다 까마다 버려 신지지 사까마다 버려 진발이 데 강리는 저 다른 진발이 코디의 추탐지 이제는 무보다 제만 맞아 가리 맞아 제바고 생랑 무보다 제만 맞아 나갔다 버리면은 이게 제야와 같이 이 무보다 제만 맞아 봐 이제 제가랑 좀 맞다 봐 이마다 버리 된지 빠지니 시작하는 거예요 된지 시작으로 내려지어 버리니 딱 차단도 같이 딱 시작도 오만 못송데 별 저기는 매직을 새로 고소하는 게 되나 그러고 저기는 매직을 고소하는 게 되나 매직 얼마나 나는 고소하는 게 열이 얼마나 되었다 그랬더니 유무가 다시 듣고 제 열을 먹지 되시면 남생인데 다시 본대에
So who truly understood the nature of phenomena and of the mind? The Buddha, the transcendent conqueror, understood the nature of phenomena and mind. In this regard, Lord Jigten Sungrin, in the song that I mentioned earlier, referred to the planets and stars of the two wisdoms. And just as a translator's comment, please excuse me, I left that out of the translation earlier. So he's really saying, if the sunlight of the two wisdoms does not clear away the clouds of obscuration, then the brilliance of the planets and stars will not shine through. So in this way, one can understand all phenomena of samsara and nirvana just as they are. The mind is the creator of all such phenomena. These phenomena are mere composites. They are not inherently established. They are the nature of impermanence. They are like an illusion. When this is clearly understood, one recognizes one's own error in having grasped at those appearances as real and true. Thus one sees, I was mistaken. Through habituating this awareness of phenomena as they are, one's grasping at phenomena as true and real is destroyed. An example of the deluded perceptions of beings would be like watching someone on television and getting angry at that person for his words or actions. of course, this person who's appearing on the screen of the television isn't real. He's not truly there. For one to get angry at him is just illusion. And so it is that when one recognizes outer phenomena as being illusory and without any inherent existence, one can then see the illusory nature of the inner mind, which is the creator of such phenomena. In this way, one's grasping at phenomena as real is destroyed. So up until now, Rinpoche has been speaking of the first of the two wisdoms, that recognizing phenomena as they are. In order to do this, we should recall the kindness of sentient beings who have all, at one time or another, been our kind parents. When we do this, then we give rise to a vast mind of loving kindness. And in addition to this, in particular, in the Drikung Kagyu, we pray that all sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate us and obstructors who do harm, have happiness and the causes of happiness, be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. If we can cultivate this vast mind of loving kindness, even towards enemies, it will be an extremely great help to our meditation of calm abiding. So, first and foremost, it is extremely important to give rise to this mind of vast loving kindness if we wish to practice meditation. So, if we cultivate calm abiding, it should be merged with all of our conduct. Whenever we experience difficulty and harm caused by enemies and those who create obstacles, those beings of the form realm and formless realms, spirits and demons and gods and so forth who do harm to us, we should understand that this harm comes from a cause, and in the past we have had a great connection with all of these harm doers. That is to say, in the past they have been our loving parents and companions who have cherished us and cared for us. Yet instead of repaying their kindness, we have harmed them and treated them badly. And as a result, they have given rise to negative feelings towards us. And because of these negative feelings, they do harm to us in the present. When we understand this process, then we realize our own fault and our own error. And we are not inclined to give rise to anger towards them in return. This is supported then by the practice of calm abiding. Calm abiding helps us to protect the mind from negative emotions, such as anger and jealousy and so forth. Among negative emotions, anger and jealousy are truly the worst. When we can begin to equalize these negative emotions, then we find that wherever we go, we are able to cause the mind to abide in a state of equanimity. And from my own side, I have some experience of this. When I first began practicing, I had especially great anger. Yet, through cultivating loving kindness, I found that I was able to diminish this anger. And then through cultivating calm abiding, I found that I was able, when less disturbed by afflictions such as anger, I was able to maintain that mind of calm abiding during regular activities. This is my own experience. When we first begin the practice of calm abiding, we do so with a support. That is to say, we select an object, a physical object that is set before us, such as a statue or an image of a deity, and we use that as the basis of our concentration. If this support has a lovely shape, a lovely form, then we give rise to a bit of attachment or desire to that form. And because of this attachment or desire, the mind is able to stay focused on the object or to abide on the object. Now, we don't need to think about the shape and the form of the object. We simply need to focus on the object. And as we focus on it, we should suspend all past, present, and future thoughts. Memories of the past are without essence. Since beginningless time, we have been wandering in samsara and having many experiences. Yet there is no benefit to thinking about and reviewing past experiences when we're practicing calm abiding. Likewise, what will happen in the future is completely determined by our karma. Understanding this, there's no need to make plans for the future. And then with regard to the thoughts that arise in the present, if we look at them as they arise without investigating them, without following after them, then they spontaneously dissipate. In this way, when we suspend thoughts of past, present, and future, we can experience a mind that is completely free from thought for a period of time. When the past thought has ended and the next thought has not yet arisen, if we abide in that mind free of thought, one-pointedly, then this will be a great help to our practice of calm abiding.
가시에는 생길때에서 그런 말이야. 내 어떻게 강이지? 내 몸이 남이지야 따지 못하고 말이야. 그 따지 못하고 대체 써먹다고 어떻게 같이 보려고 또 가르치게 되나? 내 생이 잡아버리는 거지. 강 또 가르치 모르겠나? 나 며칠 내려 잡아지 제 당시 체들 누구도 또 그런데 왜 시소는 며칠 뒤에 좀 강화하는 제 가려를 나가고 그래. 직장에 말라. 근데 세트 쉬어요 말이야. 세트 미시야. 세트 땅만 맞으나 유목 독대 매도 사온다고 세미는 강이구나. 롱반에 제가 되게 알린 줄 인가요. 내가 비체피 대신에 보면 돼. 생성만 그냥 내 하장 비체고 끌어간데 간다고. 하장 비체는 다 성능이 있지. 르그 체질에가 있지만 생성만 맞을 날로는 시간. 물 보지 다다마도 더블 말이 이런 거야. 담당니까 시로 시간. 물 때문에 생내로 그처럼 맞았나? 동안도 처럼가 이런 말이 있었나? 싸웠다나? 그때 남편 진짜가 원룸이 없는 거예요. 같이 휘를 양들이 샌데. 이거는 당신은 상상을 전에 없지. 아니는 상상을 내버려.
Some will find that although they try to practice, their minds do not abide. And what is the reason for this? Or I should say, how should such people practice? First, we should regard the practice of calm abiding as very precious. This is one of the most important things we can do in this lifetime. How is this so? At the time of death, although the body will perish, the mind will not. Although we will separate from all of our loved ones and all of our wealth and possessions, still the mind will not die. And if at the time of death we have not cleansed the mind of the 6 negative emotions, those negative emotions abide like seeds in our mind stream, and they condition rebirth in any of the 6 realms of existence. If this is understood, we will see that the most important activity of this life is to cultivate calm abiding. If we truly take this to heart, then regardless of our activities, we will always remember the importance of calm abiding. Now we have obtained a precious human rebirth, which is very rare and difficult to attain. And the time of death is uncertain. When death comes, if the mind is contaminated by the 6 negative emotions, we will lose this precious human birth, and it will be difficult to obtain again. When this is understood, we will give rise to the wish to practice meditation day and night, and to do so without ceasing. When we think in this way, then even if it is difficult at the beginning to achieve a state of calm abiding, still, knowing that this is the most important activity of this life, we will persevere and make effort. Eventually, the mind will abide. And then, of course, sometimes this calm abiding will naturally and spontaneously arise without effort.
제 지수들이 뭐든지 하게 생각 잘하지 느끼는 나 성나 이 잘 제가 제가 잘나 이게 최종으로 생각하는 거 더 좋고요. 하여튼 약간 총만 됐다고 아사로 거예요. 총만 꽤 많다고 그런 걸 듣었다고 생각도 없었잖아요. 이게 총이 좋고요. 그리고 이 생활 인간 세계에서 몇 점이요. 아프리카 보면 아주 따르고 몇 점이 따르고 말아야 그냥 뭐든 자면 말아야 딱 뭐든 대표라. 말아야 보면 몇 점이 장고 보는 거지. 말아야 뭐든 대표라. 그래서 그냥 뭐든 말도 뭐든 말도 뭐든 뭐 자면 통보요. 주주까지 싸움을 하고 이 맥주는 지가 어디지 요거래. 어디지 요거 내가 말해. 나는 잠깐 마음고 차로 잠깐 찍죠. 가이 차는 기도 가지고 야야한테 참들이 뭐 기사로 제가 산 대게 기도 하다는 거지. 정말 보고 말. 이게 루미 좀 야. 빼빼요. 내가 루미요. 많이 좀 치고는 눈이 좀 보는 셈인데 항상 생차고요. 인질사로
So with regard to the calm abiding meditation with support, you should look at the support, familiarize yourself with it, and then close your eyes and cause that the image of that support to arise in your mind. And as it appears in your mind's eye, you can manipulate the size of it to become larger or smaller through the power of the mind. In general, however small or fine the visualization is, it will support clarity to a corresponding degree. And so when this image of the support arises in your mind's eye, you can cause it to become the size of a lentil or the size of a mustard seed. And in this way, hold that image in your mind's eye. This kind of training can be done with the eyes closed. Now, some people see this as a real fault. Lord Milarepa was criticized by one of his disciples, Drikung, for meditating with his eyes closed. However, Milarepa responded that when my eyes are closed, I see a great distance. And of course, what he meant is that in spite of having his eyes closed, he had the wisdom to recognize the thoughts in the minds of his disciples and so forth. And such stability can come then through meditating with eyes closed, yet clearly focused on the support in one's mind's eye. And then it will eventually become stable. Now, in the beginning, of course, this image is not stable in the mind. It can change in various ways. and how to say, sometimes appear as one, sometimes appear as many. Yet, however the image of the support may change, it is important not to investigate that or follow after it or become distracted by it. Just allow these changes to appear and then disappear. An excellent support to use is a candle flame. If it is an extremely large flame or a bright flame, it may harm the eyes, but a small flame is an excellent support because as soon as you close your eyes, it immediately arises in your mind's eye. And its natural radiance is also a support to the meditation. When I was a small child practicing meditation, this was very helpful to me. When this calm abiding becomes a little bit stabilized, there are two ways of engaging the practice. Some say that you should carefully investigate the faults and errors of your calm abiding practice. Others say you should not carefully investigate these errors. Now, with regard to the first view, it is taught that when one practices calm abiding for long periods of time, it is possible to become attached or fixated to the experiences that arise in that practice, particularly the experiences of bliss, clarity, and freedom from thought. Yet, my own Guru Chime Doji taught that for the practitioners of this time, it is not necessary to investigate carefully the faults or errors in his practice of calm abiding. Of course, in the past, when meditators exerted themselves greatly with great diligence in the practice of calm abiding, then they could give rise to a fixation and attachment to the experiences of meditation that would make it very difficult for them to abandon those faults later. And so for them, it was necessary to investigate very carefully the state of their calm abiding. Yet, for us, perhaps it is not so necessary. We should become aware of the quality of our calm abiding, but this can be recognized through the following means. When we practice calm abiding, there is a clear knower or clear knowing aspect of the mind that manifests, just as when we churn milk, the butter will naturally appear. So as we engage the practice of calm abiding, this clear knowing aspect of the mind becomes present. Transcendent awareness also becomes greater. So we can see through our own experience whether the mind is abiding or not, whether the mind is clear or not, whether thoughts are arising or not. And in this way, we will see whether the qualities of calm abiding are manifesting or not. This is like the sprout of a flower. Once that seed is planted in the ground, you cannot cause the flower to grow. It naturally and spontaneously arises. Similarly, with the practice of calm abiding, the qualities naturally manifest. They are not something that can be created or forced. Likewise, when we look at the mind, we can recognize whether thoughts are arising or not. And then when they arise, we can recognize whether they abide or not. If the thought arises and then it spontaneously dissipates, this too is a sign of progress in the practice of calm abiding.
이나 대달 전에 중대에 보면 살짝 중대에 있는 데 피바 중대 제목을 때릴 수 있는 그 모두 제목 되게 연구를 가리 연구를 되는 데는 시바사오 문제 밖에 이렇게 동의에서 앞서다 유명과 기억을 갖고 시바사고 대랑 보고 내가 진짜 이렇게 셰프 그거예요. 내 당국가로 나서 좀 셰프 그거예요. 그때는 가보면 내가 막 썼는데 20m 중거리를 굉장히 미소여행도 20 토마 50까지 끝으로 나기 주바해서 또 통통을 때나 또 영어도 책도를 봐. 그때도 또 통통을 내려도 싫어. 다음에 딱바로 보면 좀 얘기 좋게를 보더니 탑시에서 터버렸지. 등에서 막 자탐지. 다른 내용을 좀 비해서 와야 görs det då nu måste jag nu måste komma det är ju min som om jag gör några ju många gör så hade han bara så att det sån det är min kondukt det går man på går då bara så det är man där går det att det är 간론도 막 20m 중간에 20m 차 20 하던 차가 저기 개박에 매소 나는 계시 20도 개인이잖아. 내가 또 총총 참아 하고 내는 그냥 총총 이게 제일 거고. 나도 같이 매소라고 해서 그냥 막 그냥 이제 또 가려는 것도 갈라서 특별히 이렇게 맥주도 또 특별히 이렇게 매라 보고 그래. 나도 그냥 보고 그래서
when we understand the qualities of calm abiding meditation and how the clarity aspect of mind can be strengthened through this practice, we will give rise to a great and powerful wish to practice meditation. This clarity aspect of mind, once it is habituated, can destroy suffering and negative emotions on arising. As beginners, first we must work with subtle thoughts and negative emotions. It is only these small thoughts that are not so powerful that we are able to dissipate through the practice. However, once the mind is more stable, we can liberate even greater negative emotions. In this regard, the Dakini Niguma said, even though the how to say, the flame of awareness is exceedingly small, it should be increased through vigilant, mindful awareness again and again. So as a beginner, the flame that is awareness is really like the flame at the tip of a stick of incense. It is exceedingly small. Yet, if we continually feed this flame the fuel of negative emotions, it will gradually increase. And in this way, it will have the power to burn away suffering, karma, and karmic propensities. So we should understand transcendent awareness to be like a flame, thoughts and emotions to be like fuel. In this way, we can understand the workings of karma, cause and effect. When the cause, that is negative emotions, is burnt away, then the fruition, that is rebirth in the 3 lower realms, will not be experienced. When we have this understanding, we give rise to a powerful wish to meditate. Without this, then we think, what is this meditation? And there's not this strong motivation to practice.
네, 랑통지, 따뜻한 생기대로 시작돼요. 전에 뛰고, 차, 양장양도 보면, 항상 따와서, 전에는 안 돼, 또 따오고, 가지고 보면, 내에서 가서 차여버리. 내에서 가서 차고, 뒤에는 시작 싸차야, 좋은 모양 때문에, 전에 또 받고 차버려가. 가지고 보면, 전에 내용은, 뒤가 그랬더니, 방송 따왔더라. 사차 좋은 노라. 일조리 사차 그래서 하고 사차들이 가리는 데나 나를 잘했지. 따뜻한 남도 감기 하고 삼사는 남도 맞지와 내가 또 뭔가 마음을 또 맞지. 이 유령도 그래. 다 통통나도 되게 말이야. 유령 모든 남도 맞지. 연세 때문에 이까지 되네. 그거는 인수고 성이 라고는 잠초라고 되지. 현상만으로 되지. 매도라고 대선 자료라. 잠초다고 쓰면 생주 띵 네, 이제는 막 총총을 좀 락된다더니 그런 사람이 내 밤에라. 헬다도 되는 샘싸고 되고 땅이 가스를 뭐 doctor로 연락하고 강철로 생기 포로 하면서 하얀 거와 그런 셰드를 뭐 처리하기로 셰드 동의도 참참도 셰드 몰라 셰드 파도 말아 동의도 파도 말아 셰드는 제가 선왕사절이라 생기가 많이 생기도 와서 생각 선왕사절이라 서로 동의도 당신은 절차만 관여를 더 매도는 있으나 그냥 매도 때문에 남편은 끼네요. 매도가 정말 매도가 남말 정말요 말과 매도가 정말 정말이라 되라고 유목 남도 끼네요. 끼 생선 조합이라 잘 먹고 남산 미도 그러라.
Vede come sono.
빼만 매만.
Ore.
매도 때나 마차 돈이 마을 봐야지. 매도는 남편 그만 올라가. 그래서 맞대요. 매도. 양포시했다. 매도가 있네. 이 연료가 있다고 해요. 수세나 남도 용어가 있잖아. 용어 하고 그래. 시간이 시간이는 이렇게 싸차디 내려. 이렇게 싸차디 내려. 싸차디 속치는 용어가 속매 반응이 자고 올라가. 라만 통고 들어가. 영상 홈 매발이랑 통고 그래. 저거 같은데. 저는 뭐 이시는데 라통은 이제 망보성 들어가. 돈나 망보게. 망보 강샤와 뭐 시네. 이 라만 주바. 란 가르치는 저거다. 이 라만 통고 들어가. 아무도
This brings us to the practice of special insight, which once calm abiding has become stabilized through again and again cultivating this meditation, then we begin to recognize the natural state of the mind, and transcendent awareness increases. When we have attained some stability in the calm abiding, it is not necessary to force the meditation or to create it or to cause it to arise. Whenever we wish, whenever we focus our concentration, the mind naturally abides. And from within this state, the clarity side or clarity aspect of the mind spontaneously manifests. This mind is endowed with a knowing or cognizant quality. And it is this knowing quality that gives rise to the experience of special insight. This quality is self-clarifying self-awareness. It is the recognizer of whatever thoughts and emotions arise in the mind. And then sometimes, when no thought or emotion is arising in the mind, when the past thought has ended and the next thought has not yet begun, there is this clarity aspect abides, completely free of any thought. In this regard, Lord Jigten Sungden gave a few different examples that help us to understand the mind as we are cultivating the practice of special insight. The first example is one of the ocean. Although many waves arise on the surface of the ocean, they dissolve back into that ocean. And so it is when we cultivate calm abiding and special insight, that various thoughts and emotions manifest from out of the mind, and they dissolve back into the mind. In this way, thoughts and emotions do no harm at all to the mind. The natural clarity of the mind continues, regardless of how many thoughts arise. The second example Lord Jigten Sungden gave was that of a clear crystal. A clear crystal is luminous and outside and inside completely free of any taint or obscuration, and thus it reflects all outer forms. The crystal abides in one place, and all of the diverse forms around it are reflected within it. The crystal doesn't move, or it doesn't move towards outward objects to reflect them. It reflects them abiding in its own place. And so should the mind be as we experience various forms and smells and tastes and other objects of the senses. In this way, the mind is undisturbed by various objects of the senses. The third example Lord Jigten Sungden gave was that of a flower. The lotus flower emerges out of a muddy swamp, yet its blossom is completely untainted by that mud. And so too, negative emotions arise within the mind, yet the basic mind itself is untainted by those negative emotions. Thus, what sorts of experience arise when we cultivate this kind of meditation? Although various thoughts and negative emotions continue to appear in the mind, for example, anger will continue to arise, yet when it does, it is recognized its nature is recognized. And through this recognition, the anger itself is dissipated, and the clarity aspect of the mind increases. Thus, the negative emotion itself is rendered powerless. Ultimately, it completely disappears. It becomes nothing. Just like a wave that arises out of the water and then dissolves back into the water and becomes nothing. This experience is referred to as the transformation of negative emotions into primordial awareness. And this is the experience of special insight. In brief, whatever thoughts and negative emotions arise in the mind, they are immediately recognized. And through that recognition, one attains freedom or independence, because those negative emotions are rendered powerless and they support primordial awareness.
이너다 이 라리 소주면서 송을 generate in the long-term breed, you won't know what she said. So, the county, she named one with your county. Some people thought it was this. Some people thought it was about Kali Hapo. You know what the number of they have over this. George was the county. No book and you know what Charles was. 7년 내라 이더니 나 돌로게 제발이고 레다 뭐가 담기고 보통 가보나 오 해당다고 있는 거 중은 집에 해당이 샘이 돌아오나 야와 안 비는 것도 이거 이발상에 양해당 야 삼무기 뭐신이는 오 시도선에서 파마만 들어가지고 이거 말아 제가 해당은 저기 랑파고요. 니 해당도 이렇게 랑 프린시와 비슷한 대랑빵 탑 이제 탑스바디 다 있어. 문이 저 해당 코랑 생을 하실 때는 그냥 매만 줘버려요. 원담도 동반이 있어. 사실 이제 동반이 하고서 이 맞도라. 레사 레전 비행 보면 또 동반이 있어. 오라를 이시대에서 항상 디바테 홍보 때 털버 타거든요. 탑은 가능성이 가서 안 하는 거
In the text of the 37 practices of bodhisattvas, it is said, having understood that disturbing emotions are destroyed by insight, possessed with tranquil abiding, to cultivate meditative concentration that perfectly transcends the four formless absorptions is the bodhisattva's practice. So what is the meaning or purpose of calm abiding meditation? It is to stabilize the view that is special insight. Through this, one can recognize if one has liberated negative emotions or not, if one has destroyed negative emotions or not. What do we mean when we speak of liberation of negative emotions? It is that these thoughts arise in the mind, and then through the power of awareness, they are dissipated. Now, if for beginners it is difficult to liberate negative emotions in this way, there are a few methods that one can practice. The first is the recognition of the fault of negative emotions, for example, anger. If we understand that the experience and phenomena of the hell realms are created by the negative emotion of anger, then we seek to abandon this fault. This is the first method. The second method is by cultivating loving kindness and compassion towards beings. If we understand that there is not one sentient being who has not been our kind parent at one time or another, and we think of their kindness towards us, then we have no basis for giving rise to anger towards them. And then the third method is to recognize the ultimate nature of anger and other negative emotions. If we understand that the cause, which is the negative emotion, is empty by nature, then there is no need to accumulate karma based on that negative emotion. If we fail to understand this, then we continue to accumulate karma. So, depending on the capacities of the individual practitioner, we should apply one of these three methods and use them as necessary to overcome negative emotions. If we are able to cultivate these practices of calm abiding and special insight, it is of inconceivable benefit. If we are able to look inward at the natural state of the mind and recognize the fault of negative emotions, there is vast and inconceivable benefit that will arise from this. All sentient beings, all human beings, although our bodies are basically the same, inwardly, our mental experiences of happiness and suffering and self-grasping are quite diverse. In this regard, there was someone who was imprisoned with me, and we both stayed in the same room, living under basically the same conditions. And yet, one day, through the fault of anger, this man tried to kill himself. I, on the other hand, who was living under the same difficult conditions, wasn't really thinking on a daily basis, I am stuck in this prison. I was praying regularly to Aryatara, contemplating on the Buddha's teachings on karma, cause and effect, and so forth. And because of this, the thought to take my own life never entered my mind. In this way, we can see that two people who have very similar outer circumstances can give rise to very divergent inner experiences. And if in this way we can protect the mind from negative emotions, then we will not need to experience such vast suffering. In this regard, you should contemplate well the two truths, conventional and ultimate. Lama Sangye can give instruction and teachings that will help you with this contemplation. And then you should cultivate vigilant, mindful awareness. All sentient beings have at the very basis the Buddha nature, and the qualities of the Buddha nature manifest through cultivating mindfulness. Understanding this, then we can gradually abandon the causes of suffering and accumulate the causes of happiness. this will bring about great benefit to ourselves and others. And now for this evening, I will conclude the teaching.